Hello, everybody, and welcome to my review of The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 2. I'm a little late to getting this one done, but I did just want to mention how much I love the second episode. Of course, I did a live watch party on my channel for it, but I did have a lot of things to say about it, so I figured I'd do it now since I had everything set up at home and just wanted to cover some really important parts to it. So without further ado, this is RM's review of Season 1, Episode 2, The Last of Us. Hello, everybody. It's RM here. Good to see you all. I just wanted to do this short review. It is a spoiler review of The Last of Us episode 2. Certainly something that I am incredibly passionate about, as you all know. And thank you for those of you who have been joining the live watch parties. I really do appreciate you doing that. More importantly, I really appreciate the fact that you guys are supporting the channel as well. So I did just want to say that there are going to be spoilers for The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 2 here in this review. And I just got to say, it starts out with telling us what's going on around the world in the Last of Us universe. I think that's incredibly important. Throughout the game, when you played, you always got little snippets of information about what was happening worldwide with this horrible pandemic. And to be honest with you, any bit of information was, absolutely welcome. You wanted to know what was happening. You had this 20-year jump after the events. Well, they did a nice thing here. Well, they show you Jakarta, and they gave you a hint. It was a bit of a Easter egg in episode 1 that we would be revisiting this place, but seeing this horrible plague, and maybe something that we hadn't seen with some of the new behavioral aspects of this fungi that is infecting the entire world, this cordyceps. And it's terrifying to see this specialist doctor see that there are bite marks on this woman who she's looking at, but also this terrifying looking fungi. When she opens up the woman's mouth, it actually reaches out to her, and she runs right away from all this. Adding that movement to this this horrible infectious item is terrifying, but not as terrifying as learning from this incredibly talented medical doctor or pathologist or whatever she is, scientist, as she recommends to them the best way to handle this is to pretty much do something very drastic and severe. The idea that she would say that that's how we need to get rid of this menace, to just take something and use ordnance to destroy entire communities so it doesn't spread, is quite shocking. I think they got their point across. And I also have to say that the intro where they show the cordyceps kind of growing and then they turn into the shapes of people is equally as impressive. But, we start off with the episode also where Ellie is kind of sleeping, and seeing Tess and seeing Joel look over Ellie. It feels like those are her parents who are watching over her, making sure she's okay. We know, guys, I'm not a parent, but I know people who are parents, and I see you guys do this stuff a lot where you're watching your kids as they sleep just to make sure they're okay. And they're quite fascinated by finding out that Ellie had been bitten. And apparently she hasn't been affected by this disease at all. And they're quite shocked by this. It's very unusual, but Ellie still hasn't told them everything. But it's not too hard for them to guess that it has something to do with the fact that she is not getting this reaction to what's been happening. Certainly, it's something that I think is quite remarkable. Even I am impressed with the notion that she's been tested and they've watched her. We saw she had in the first episode, she's kind of chained up to keep her away from infecting anybody, just in case she was infectious. So they were cautious. The Fireflies were cautious. And there are a lot of people in the world who know how long that infection takes in order to take hold once a person may be infected. Now, for a while, I think there was a lot of creative license in how the infection spread and what was going on. But I also think it's pretty important to be able to create a world where we can easily understand the story if we've never played the game, if we don't know anything about it. And the fact of the matter is, a good portion of people watching this may not have ever played the game, and they need to know some of these facts as well. Now we see, you know, that both Joel and Tess are a team that work together, and they really care about one another. This isn't a situation where they don't. It's really important for them to work synergistically. And I think that that's also something that's really important. When we see the team together, it's almost like they're a family. Now, one of the things, as I've told you before, that attracted me to the game and kept me there was this relationship of Joel and Ellie. But something else that I'm noticing is how Ellie is kind of bonding with Tess here, and Tess really is bonding with her. This is a legitimate collaboration between the two that's turning into something more. And so that's why it's even all the more tragic when we realize that they have to somehow get her over to this museum. And it's not easy to get there. You know, they're trying to figure out how they're going to get her the safest way possible. Fact of the matter is that the two of them are keeping Ellie alive. And I think once Ellie sees the ruins outside, you know, she's quite fascinated by how difficult and how much destruction has taken place. As I mentioned before, the city was bombed, and we do see one or two holes in the ground where there were bombs. But to be honest with you, they can't go the short, easy way. None of the trips where they have to go someplace are easy. They all have to go the long way because they're trying to avoid any kind of confrontation with these cordyceps, which are kind of like a hive mentality. And to be honest with you, I think that they've done it so well, these walking scenes. And I know people have talked about the walking scenes. And, you know, when you play this game, there's a lot of scenes where there's a lot of walking, but there is that fear of kind of alerting the cordyceps. They have to go into this museum or into a hotel or someplace, and it is pretty gross. But they go through, they make it through, but it is a challenge. There's a part where Tess goes and explores to see what the best way to go through and whether it's clear. And you do get this quiet moment between Ellie and Joel. And these are the moments that make so much of an impression on you while you're watching the series, is that relationship building that we want to see between Joel and Ellie. And it does feel like they're father and daughter. I know that they're not, but boy, it does feel that way. And I know a lot of people have said that he isn't exactly fully invested in this yet. And there is some truth to that. But I think that he starts to realize, especially after he had that fight where he had to kind of defend her against that guard, that he's kind of taken on this role that's a little bit more than just a protector now. He's kind of invested in this, although he may not be invested in the same cause that the Fireflies have. So there is some truth to his level of commitment. You know, they're climbing all over the city. They explain to Ellie that you know, they're deep inside the building, these clickers, so to speak. And to be honest with you, they are gaining ground in the city year by year, day by day. And they can communicate whenever somebody touches part of the cordyceps. It's really terrifying what they showed. But to be honest with you, I think that they did everything they could to keep Ellie away from being around infected people. And once they get to this museum, unfortunately, the group finds a bit of bad luck. While the cordyceps are not or don't appear to be alive, after they go in, they suddenly realize that whomever they were supposed to be meeting, whatever they were supposed to be doing, is not as expected. Now they go through the museum, and to be honest with you, this is one of the scariest, most frightening, most terrifying, most shocking, and terrorizing moments in the story, where they actually come in contact with the clicker, this creature that really wants to infect them. And I've shown you these clickers before. I was terrified in the game, and I was equally terrified rewatching it in this just incredible episode. Um, in fact, it's making me want to go back and play this game again, and I think I will. But certainly, unfortunately, while they're protecting Ellie and they get her through the museum over to where they need to go, um, in the confusion of it all, while they were able to get Ellie out, um, unfortunately, Tess gets bitten by one of the infected. And Tess kind of hides this from the trio. She hides it, and even when they make it to City Hall to meet the Fireflies and everybody's been killed, Tess lets everyone know, "Hey, I'm infected." Tess goes ahead and shows the infection, and it's terrifying because it's fatal. Tess is not immune to this infection, and she shows them it's a bite on kind of over here somewhere, and it looks terrible. And you can see the infection is spreading, and pretty much Tess has to say goodbye now. When she has to say goodbye to the two of them, to Joel and Ellie, you can just see how affected Ellie is. Ellie thought Tess was going to be there the whole time. The Fireflies they were going to meet have all been killed, unfortunately. And it is just terrifying. It's terrifying seeing what's happened. It turns out that Ellie was rebitten and she doesn't have the infection at all. Again, she's been bitten again and she's fine. So, as Tess said, they could still tear Ellie apart, but Ellie won't be infected with this. And that's when Tess tells them to go. They have to leave right away and take Ellie. And Joel has to set everything right now. It's heartbreaking. Tess does not want to leave them, but she knows she has to. And poor Ellie is just terrified about what's going to happen. So they leave, and you see one of the most incredible and terrifying. And I know I use the word terrifying, but I was just freaked out by what they showed us with Tess encountering one of the infected who comes up to her very, very close. She's infected too. And the infected person kind of does this infected behavior where the cordyceps wants to go into Tess. I'm not going to necessarily say everything that happened, but boy, that was one of the grossest, freakiest, craziest things I've ever seen. And I absolutely loved every minute of it. Tess couldn't quite stop the clickers from chasing them because she tried to throw out the gasoline and ordnance to stop, and she kept trying to do a lighter. She had some bombs there that she was going to, throw and do all sorts of stuff. She couldn't stop them, but she deterred them just a bit without it being an incredibly large horde to go after. She says, save who you can save. Joel, save who you can save. And that's a lot we know going forward. Most likely, from what we've seen, it's just going to be Ellie and Joel. And Joel has to pull poor little Ellie away from Tess. And Tess is devastated. Ellie is devastated. Tess is also devastated. Tess is really frightened and she's by herself. But at least she isn't going to be roaming the world as one of these horrible creatures because she won't make it that long. She has her lighter. The lighter doesn't work right away, but at some point there is an explosion which completely destroys everything there. And I'm glad that Tess isn't going to be one of the millions of walking creatures running around like that. I'm so glad that she isn't one of those. But it's still terrifying. It's still shocking. It's scary. All those elements of The Last of Us come into play where she can't go ahead and use her lighter, and that creature kind of invading Tess's sanctity of her body, if you will. That's how I would say it. It was scary, and I'll never forget that scene. I certainly feel terrible she had to go through that, but she sacrificed herself for them. And I think the gravity of what's happened now, Joel, it's just him. This is a lot to deal with. And Ellie has to go on and kind of say goodbye to what's happened. This is just one step in this long, arduous journey for the two of them. I really have to say this was a wonderful episode and I loved it. I can't wait to see the next episode, episode 3, in a little while, but I did just want to let you guys know that they certainly didn't let us down here. Another great episode of The Last of Us, episode 2 in season 1. I hope you guys are watching along, and I hope you're enjoying the episodes as well. Just want to thank you guys for those of you who tune in every week for the live watch parties, as well as those of you who support the channel. I am enjoying every minute of The Last of Us here, and I hope you are too. Speak to you all soon and hang out. I hope to see you for my review of episode 3 of The Last of Us coming up next week. Tonight, I'm going to be doing a live watch party. Hope you all are well and see you soon. And remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to be kind. Take care, guys.